Hi, today we're going to discuss two types of container gardening that have become very popular in the last couple of years. This is one that is mainly for low light, indirect light, one that you could put somewhere where you know, other than a window. Now, there's a lot of steps to doing this. The first step would be putting some stones in the bottom of the container. We're going to put about 1/4 of an inch of river rock in the base of the terrarium for drainage. The next step we're going to do is use charcoal. That'll absorb any odors that could arise. Then we're going to moisten some sphagnum moss and place that on top of the charcoal. You only need a thin layer. This will supply your plant roots with plenty of moisture and the terrarium with a good amount of humidity. And then next, we're going to use a very light potting mix. I use Pro Mix here, but you can use anything that's extremely light. For instance, a cactus mix would work well. I wouldn't use anything that retains moisture. The next step is your plants. This is a nice ground cover. It's called Pyalea. It'll kind of take over the base of the terrarium, your foundation, your floor of the terrarium. It'll give it a good natural look. You want to always try to use ferns when you can in a terrarium because they do supply the most amount of humidity and moisture, and they tolerate and hold up very well in a terrarium. It's very important to get your soil distributed evenly around so that there's no holes where the water can seep down. You want everything to be fairly level. So keep working your soil around. While you're doing that, there's a lot of different types of ground covers other than the natural ones. We use a sheet moss that's been preserved, and we also use reindeer moss that's been preserved. I like to break it up and use different varieties. It looks more natural when you can break it up. You want this particular terrarium to look sort of like a forest. So there's all different types. That's the sheet moss that I'm putting in now. The reindeer moss is the light colored one. And it really gives it a finished look. So once you get that all in there, then you're going to be able to think about accessories and what you want. I'm choosing a mushroom and a garden gnome. They work well with the type of plants that I put in here. Also stones. Stones give it a real natural look, so we're going to put some stones in. The most important thing to know is the watering technique. The first time you water your terrarium, you want to be extremely careful. Use a watering can with a very narrow nozzle so you won't have a tendency to overwater. I usually go around anywhere between 2 or 3 times. When you're all done, you put your top on. This top has a seal, so it will allow the moisture to stay inside the terrarium. When the terrarium builds up with humidity, you take the top off and you have a self-contained ecosystem. Now next, we're going to show you how to create your own miniature garden. There's a lot of different types of miniature gardens. Some are for outdoors, some of them grow outdoors in the ground, perennials and shrubs. Some of them are in containers. There's types that are strictly indoors. The one we're going to work on today is one that you can bring indoors in the winter and enjoy and leave outdoors all summer long. As you've noticed, I cut a piece of landscape fabric in the bottom of the garden to hold the soil in. I like to use a good quality mix. This is called Pro Mix. There's a lot of perlite in it. You don't want to use a soil that holds a lot of moisture because we're making a succulent miniature garden. Next, we want to start to place your plants in. I like to put the taller plants, obviously, towards the back. You want to create a nice balance, a balance with the plant material, the colors, textures. There's a lot of varieties of succulents out there. There's echeverias and crassulas. And I also like to use different types. We have some in the front that will cascade down. You want to have as much variety as you can. Now, because they're succulents, you can pack them in there pretty well. You don't need to worry about overfilling a succulent garden. You want to get your soil as level as you possibly can so that the water doesn't pool, which will eventually rot the root system. The next step after this is we're going to put on some stones. You want to put a good layer of stones on the top. Fill it in. You don't want any of the soil to be seen. The stones have a multi-purpose use. They keep the soil in, the plants in place. They also heat up the soil, especially in the winter months when you have it stored or you have it in a cool room. It'll keep the soil nice and moist. You have to remember these are desert type plants. Now we also have some accessories. I put a little rock. I put some sand dollars. There's a sea urchin, some shells. We wanted to kind of create a desert ocean feel, sort of like at Cabo San Lucas. Some mini shells. So once you're all done and you have everything all arranged, you're going to think about watering. With a garden like this, you want to water it quite heavily the first time and let it go very, very dry. The beauty of the succulent garden is you don't have to water it often. In the summertime, maybe once every couple of days. In the winter, indoors, once a week to once every 2 weeks. It's pretty maintenance-free gardening. This type of garden really requires good sunlight. Thank you for watching, and please come visit us the next time.